Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for another fantastic session with the Association for Project Management. And this particular session is all around professional development and leadership and the road to chartership. If you haven't seen the sessions that we've done previously, they are available on demand. I'm Jo Stanford. I head up the Healthcare Project and Change Association. If you've not joined one of our events before, as a start, can you all do me a really big favour and introduce yourself in the chat? These are always fantastic opportunities for networking, sharing, connecting with each other. So don't miss the opportunity here. Say who you are, what you do and where you are, and keep an eye out for people you know, and also give a shout out to anybody that's in a similar kind of role to you. So do keep an eye out for people that you want to connect with. So the Healthcare Project and Change Association, for anybody who's new to it, we are a community of practice supporting the projects and change workforce in the healthcare sector. We are not for profit, and it's open to anybody to subscribe. So whether you're a project professional, you have a hybrid career, or you're just curious to learn more about it or do it as an add-on to the day job, it's open to everybody. We work really collaboratively with the other associations within healthcare, the clinical as well as the non-clinical associations, and looking at how we can develop an approach to all of our skills more collaboratively. So cross-fertilizing skills between different professions. We have some great events coming up with FedIP, so do keep an eye out for those. We have regional networks, and we are here to support the development of workforce and the careers that we have, so that there's something meaningful to take you from the start to the end of your career. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, because it's free for everybody to join. You get notifications about the events that are coming up. And this is the last of the 3 events. The other 2 are available on our YouTube channel to watch on demand if you haven't seen those yet. And following up from today's event, we have a series of community webinars. We have some that are with AFA, so the Association for Analysts. So they're coming to talk a little bit about why analysts are really important. And as a project and change professional, having the right data with the right information is really vital. So if you've not signed up for that one yet, please do, because working collaboratively with analysts is going to be really important to being able to evidence outcomes, benefits, and also providing data that's going to make a really important benefit to your particular program or project. Excuse me. We have another event with FedIP, AI, digital and data readiness. So please do sign up for that one as well. We've got a really exciting one on the 2nd of July, and this is with Cotter Inc. So any of you who are aware of change management, you will know that John Cotter is one of the world experts on change management. And we've got somebody from his team coming to talk to us about leading through uncertainty. And if there's anything going on at the moment across the healthcare sector, it's a lot of uncertainty. So if you want to find out more, do sign up for that free event. It's going to be hopefully really insightful and really valuable. We also have another session that Transparent Choice are doing for PMOs, so sign up for that one. And then we've got some future events from September onwards, again with FedIP, but also some clinical case studies as well, how projects and change can inform clinical services. So do come and sign up for those and find out more. Regional networks, we are UK wide, so join your regional network. We've got one in the South East coming up on the 13th, and our first Wales one on the 24th of June. Go on the website and you'll see the links to register to join for any of the particular regions. You don't have to join your own, but it helps if you get to know the people who are around you. In terms of what we offer, one of the key things is around training and development, and we've developed a series of essentials courses, which are one-day courses that are really valuable for whole teams and cohorts of people, clinical, non-clinical, professional, non-professional within the project space. If you're wanting to develop your skills, there's some really valuable courses available to you. We have a big move around change management because we deliver a lot of projects, but actually taking people on the journey with us, implementing and embedding them effectively and achieving the outcomes, that's the bit where we often fall down. So we have some free online learning on change management if you don't have a background in it, but also if you're wanting to develop to the next level, we have some great courses to support you with that. And if you are a non-project professional who's an SRO, or you have an SRO who's a non-project professional, do signpost them to our SRO training as well, because it can be a tough job for them to take on in addition to a day job, and getting some help with the skills needed to do it effectively, that helps to deliver that project and achieve the outcomes. It's free for everybody to be a member, to be a part of the community, but in order to keep us funding as a not-for-profit, we don't have any central funding. We're pretty reliant on training and bespoke commissioning and organisational membership. And we can develop the profession as much as we can and become chartered and become really skilled and competent. But if the organisation doesn't have the infrastructure to support that and doesn't have the maturity about portfolio programme project management, that can really negate the skills and competences we have. So if your organisation isn't a member of HPCA, please do encourage them to sign up. It will help them to develop the organisational maturity, but also it will help to support you and your colleagues with professional development, so that we can build more effective and mature organisations and professions going forward. So moving on, it's a fantastic opportunity today to hear more about the road to chartership and becoming a chartered project professional. I'm a chartered project professional myself and a fellow of the Association for Project Management. We have CJ Cordice, who's come to talk to us a little bit about that today. And we've got a special guest in Helen Donaghy, who's come to tell you about her journey to becoming chartered, so that you can ask her questions and how she went about it, and also, you know, what to learn so that you can go on that journey. But to start with, we've got a couple of quick questions that I'd like to ask just to find out a little bit more about you. So if you can either click on the link or use the QR code and just answer a couple of quick questions for us. I'm just going to change screens so we can see the results. So for those that are coming in early, there should be a link in the chat to sign up for it if you can't see the QR code anymore. So if you missed that, look in the chat and you'll see it there. So it's really to understand a little bit about who we've got on the call, where you are in terms of your career development journey. So the first question is, how long have you worked in projects and change? And mindful that some people may be here to learn more about it and it might not be their profession. People with 1 to 5 years in, 5 to 10 years, 10 to 20 and 20 plus. So I think that counts as me, but so we've got quite a good mix here of people who have different levels of development over their careers. Mindful we've got about 56 people on the call, so I'll give you another moment to click onto the QR code, because we want to ask you a little bit about your journey to chartership. So if you can, take a moment to complete this and we'll move on to the next question in a minute. That's a perfect balance between them. So we've got people with different levels of development throughout their career. Fantastic. Thank you. Still a couple of answers coming in. Okay, brilliant. I'll move on because I'm mindful we need to get to Helen's story. So if you are interested in becoming chartered in the next 12 months? And this is just to get an indication of who we might want to support, but there's some options here. Yes, you're interested in becoming chartered in the next 12 months. No, you're not interested in becoming chartered. Not sure, need to know more. And also not yet, but would be interested in the future. So we've got lots of people not sure, need to know more. Well, luckily you're here and you're going to find out a lot more about it. We've got 4 that are yes and ready to go. So if you're interested, we can help you prepare for that journey and signpost you to events that can support you through that development process. And not yet, but interested in the future. But this is a really good thing to learn now, because Helen and I were talking about this, having both gone through this process. If you start at a point now and think you want to get ready to go for chartership, maybe not the next 12 months, but in the future, starting to look at what the requirements are, what evidence you need to gather, how you can start to pull that together and as part of a set of information can make the process a lot less burdensome when you get to it, because you're building it as you go. So that's a really great place to start. Okay, so we've got some yes, some in the future, and some not sure, want to hear more. That's fantastic. Just before we move on to CJ and learn more about it, I just want to ask you what barriers, I should say, do you see to becoming chartered? Sorry, my spelling mistake there. My dyslexic brains missed that one. So for those that are wanting to go ahead in the next 12 months or interested in the future, what do you see as potential barriers? And hopefully CJ, myself and Helen be able to answer any of those questions. Lack of funding, costs and time to study, time to progress through the requirements. Time and money. Those are clearly the big issues, aren't they? Organisational change, yes. I appreciate there is a lot of organisational change going on at the moment that is going to disrupt people's progress. I think may lose the job in the NHS. I know there's a lot of change, and I know with NHS England being abolished and the reduction in the ICBs that this is going to affect a lot of people. The chartership isn't just about the NHS. This is a pan-sector professional level of attainment. So it's probably quite a useful one if you are potentially looking at roles outside the NHS or in other sectors to say, actually, it's a consistent level that everybody would recognise. So now might be the ideal time, even if there's a lot of disruption going on, because it's something that you can take with you. Okay, fantastic. Yep, so as they said, they're early in their careers. That's fine. You've got time to plan and time to think about it, so that it spreads it out a little bit. Time is a bit of a challenge. We appreciate that. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to stop sharing there, and thank you for sharing your insights with us and your thoughts. And if I can introduce CJ now to tell you more about the APM and the road to chartership, and then he's going to introduce Helen and she's going to tell her story. Thank you, CJ.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Just getting my screen ready. Can you all see that okay?
Excellent. Lovely.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Joe. So hello everyone, and if you haven't met me before, I'm CJ, the Partnership Development Coordinator here at APM, and I look up after the corporate affiliate membership held by HPCA. And really, I'm just here to kind of give you an overview, a high-level overview of the routes into chartership, and also, sorry, I'm just going to move this because this is just, there we go, the routes into chartership, and then Helen can kind of give her kind of background into that as well, and experience, and you can just kind of learn from her insights as well. So to start, just a brief agenda. It's going to be a high-level overview of chartership, why it's important to consider for yourself and for the profession, and also for your organization as well. And as it was kind of mentioned earlier, it's never too early to think about your chartership or to think about chartership. So hopefully this session will kind of be able to just shed a little bit of light on your thinking and if you're ready for it, and what support is available there, and how you also might just achieve this chartered status as well. So what is chartered and why is it so important? At APM, we are proud to say we are the only chartered membership organisation for the project profession, and we really focus on your experience to be able to get you to that standard. So the chartership was introduced back in 2017, and since then we have over 4,000 chartered project professionals. And again, this was mentioned earlier, one thing that we want to kind of highlight is that being a chartered project professional or a CHPP, it spans a range of sectors as well. So we're increasingly seeing chartered project professionals who have transferred and moved across industries, as it really is about that kind of unique experience and that kind of level of standard, which is relation into the projects or programs or portfolios that you've been involved with. Why is it so important? There's a piece of research which states that there's 25 million additional project professionals which will be needed globally by 2030, which really is an incredible amount if you think about it. In relation to other kind of findings, our findings show that there's optimism as well for the future of the project profession, with over 50% of businesses anticipating an increase in project activity and budgets over the next 3 years. Obviously, I know that this can change and the economic situation can change as well, but this is from a piece of research that we found. And this growth is also attributed to a broader recognition of project management's value and the expectation of larger, more challenging and complex projects as well. However, there are other challenges. Obviously, going off the kind of Menti thing, there's the time, the cost restraints, funding. There's all of these kind of challenges as well, which, you know, they're still there, but kind of bridging those gaps and bridging either kind of talent gaps or prioritizing diversity and inclusion and encouraging a networking space to, you know, become more collaborative and learn from each other. It's more crucial than ever. So thinking about this now and understanding this now, hopefully we'll be able to kind of shed light on ways that you can, you know, get through this. And if that is the level that you want to get to, hopefully this will provide some insight to you as well. So a lot of information on this slide. It basically is just our product card, which demonstrates information in a nice kind of concise piece. But I'm going to break it down into the key areas as well, and just go into a little bit more detail as well. So what it means for you and the profession, and why is it so important? The kind of benefits for an individual, the way I like to look at it is intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. So when you look at these kind of benefits, when you're looking at it intrinsically, you have that external validation, which is, you know, it's giving you the credibility and it's recognizing your expertise, and it also just allows trust within you. It allows the trust within your actions and your decisions and career. So these are all kind of nice intrinsic motivations for you to kind of achieve this standard as well. On the other side of things, extrinsic, we've got, you know, increased earning potential with 58% of CHPPs earning over 70,000. Obviously, that does span across the sectors as well. And as I touched on earlier, there's huge networking opportunities which allow for connecting and collaborating, and basically in turn just developing the profession as well. The chartered status, you know, it represents that highest kind of standard of professional excellence and integrity within that project profession space. So as well as it reflecting your breadth of experience and achievements, it shows that you can kind of keep pace in a fast moving profession and a ever changing profession, and projects are everywhere. So it demonstrates that level and that standard to that as well. When we look at it from a kind of organizational point of view, employing chartered project professionals is important because it ensures that your organization benefits from enhanced project outcomes, higher standards of professionalism and capability. There's an improved reputation within the organization as well. And there's also, again, kind of feeding into that client trust, there's an increase in that trust element as well. And these factors kind of all collectively contribute to the overall success and the credibility of the organization as well. It makes it more competitive and more reliable in the industry. And again, as I said, these kind of span across all the sectors as well. So there's a lot of benefits to the organizations, but moving on from that, there's benefits to the profession, there's benefits to the public. So it ties in nicely with our kind of strapline of when projects succeed, society benefits. So when you're kind of giving, or you're giving back in that sense that you've achieved that standard, you're making a difference within the community, within the profession, and within that kind of public space as well. You're what you've done, you know that you're putting out there, and you've achieved that level to develop as well. So there's a whole range of benefits to not just yourself, it's on a wider scale as well. So I wanted to, again, just high level kind of give an overview on how to check if you're ready, what's also being assessed, and what support there is available as well. When we talk about checking to see if you're ready, we're looking at you being professionally active. So it's kind of all about the experience, and it's unique to you in project experience as well. We look at technical knowledge, and we also look at professionalism, and then there's an underlying level of CPD as well. And I know Helen has a lot to talk about on CPD, so it's a very important thing to be aware of. And basically, by being professionally active, we're looking for you to there's a few things. So we're looking for you to have a proven track record kind of delivering these projects and programs or portfolios. We want to see that you're up to date in your knowledge of current practices and methods. And we also just want to see that you're being active and involved within the project management profession as well. But again, ultimately, it's kind of coming down to your experience and demonstrating that within the different assessment areas as well. When looking at what's assessed, so again, I'll kind of give a brief overview in terms of the three elements, but professional practice is thought about it can be thought about as your experience. And within this section, it kind of assesses the application of technical knowledge to deliver the projects. That involves various competencies as well. And again, I'll touch on that in a second. When we look at technical knowledge, this kind of assessment area comes from our recognized assessments, and this will demonstrate an underlying or an understanding of how to deliver these projects. And again, I'll touch on what is or what we recognize as a recognized assessment and where this kind of fits. And then your CPD and ethics. So we've got a really nice, easy tool to use, which if you're a member with us, it's very simple to use. You can log all your stuff on there. You don't have to use that tool, but we would ask that it's kind of following that similar kind of structure. But so long as you can evidence it, and you just need to evidence the fact that you're basically meeting the requirement of a minimum of 35 hours in the preceding year before your application. So so long as you've met that requirement, then you should be good to go, and you just need to evidence that within your application. In terms of support which is available, so here at APM we've got a range of support available. We would encourage you to have these conversations with us as well, and where we can give you guidance on the standards and application process, we can. There are 2 in-depth documents on the website under the Chartered tab, which go into more detail regarding CHPP and the standard for it as well. And also there's a very new kind of application guidance on there. So it's a nice interactive resource which has only just been launched, and yeah, just take some time to have a look into that as well. There might be a bit more information that I haven't kind of given in there that you can gain from there. But in terms of what support is available, so we run a monthly support clinic, which will help you prepare for your application, and it's free to attend as well. There's other support in terms of APM mentoring programs. So if you are an individual membership, or if you are an individual member with us, you can access that resource as well. And then the main one is kind of the self-assessment tool, which will basically give you a preliminary judgment to support your application and basically just understand whether this is the right time for you to start your application. So for those of you who mentioned in the mentee that you're kind of ready to go within the next 12 months, if you haven't done that yet, I would definitely recommend having a look at the self-assessment tool as well. Pathways, again, I'll just kind of do a quick overview. I don't want to spend too much time, as I do want Helen to kind of give her experience, but for those of you who are familiar with the routes into Chartership, they have been restructured in the last year, which has allowed for a new pathway, which is Pathway 3, which actually recognises the PMQ qualification as a recognised assessment into Chartership, and it also recognised the PMP as a recognised assessment within there as well. Pathway 1 will cover 12 competencies, and there is a 2-hour interview covering professional practice and also technical knowledge. Pathway 2 will cover 12 competencies. It's a slightly shorter interview, of an hour and 15 minutes, and this will just cover professional practice because your recognised assessment will cover the technical knowledge. Pathway through 3, as I mentioned, is using the PMQ as a recognised assessment, and this will cover 8 competencies over a 1-hour interview on technical knowledge. And then pathway 4 is a much shorter interview of 30 minutes and will basically just be kind of clarifying questions based upon your CPD. And then just to note, for all submissions, there is the requirement of 2 proposers, confirmation of CPD undertaken, and agreement to commit to and comply with the APM Professional Code of Conduct. Sorry, it's a bit of a mouthful, that one. Before you start, you will basically need to just decide which projects you're going to draw evidence from, and you can select up to 4 that meet the complexity requirements, and then you will go through and then choose your competencies, which is a total of 12. This is via pathway 1. Of the 12 that are covered, 6 of those will be addressed within the interview stage, for which happens in stage 2 for professional practice, and then same again with 4 being addressed from technical knowledge. Pathway 2, which is the recognised assessment for technical knowledge. So of the 12 competence areas from stage 1 within this pathway, 6 of those will then be covered in the interview. These are chosen by the assessors. So we would encourage you to prepare for all answers for them, because 6 of them will be covered and chosen at random by the assessors. Pathway 3 will again is the newly validated pathway, which is the PMQ or the PMP route. And as I said, we use this now as a recognised assessment into Chartership. If you are coming through the PMQ route or this pathway, you do have to go through a validation process as well for the PMQ holders. So make sure that you kind of complete that ahead of the application. So yeah, you have to basically just get that validated before you can continue your application for this route. And then finally, pathway 4 is when you hold a recognised assessment for professional practice and also for technical knowledge as well. So this pathway, again, is mainly meeting criteria within stage 1, and then stage 2 is basically more a clarification kind of interview to cover your CPD areas as well. Recognised assessments, so we have 28 recognised assessments. Again, this presentation will be shared with you, so you can go through and see this, or you can kind of follow the link through to the website. But we've got the technical knowledge recognised assessments, which are used for pathway 2. Pathway 3, you've got the PMQ and the PMP. And then you've got the pathway 4 recognised qualifications, recognised assessments as well. But that is me. So yeah, again, it was a very high level overview, but obviously put any questions into the chat and we can answer them at the end as well, or the document will be shared with you. But I want to hand over to Helen now, who's going to give some insights into her journey and just show how she achieved Chartership as well. And yeah.
Great, thanks, CJ.
I'm just going to stop sharing it. There we go.
Thank you. Cool, has that come through okay for everybody? Perfect, lots of nods. Thank you. So, hello everybody. I'm Helen Donaghy. I work at the NHS Business Services Authority, so we're an arm's length body within the NHS. We manage the NHS pension scheme, process prescription payments, and deliver public facing services like training reimbursement within adult social care and the healthy food scheme, and much more besides that. So a really diverse organisation, and it's a great place to be a project manager because there's so many different things to get involved with. My role is a portfolio delivery lead, so I head up 50 plus kind of project professionals, ranging from project support up to major project managers and including our emerging change management function. So as part of that, I lead our community of practice and I own our frameworks and standards about how we deliver our projects across the organisation. But I would have previously said, but I'm not a real project manager. And I would have very quickly caveated that and said, oh, I'm not a real project manager. And that comes from the kind of feeling of, a little bit of imposter syndrome. And CJ really hit the nail on the head in his slides earlier, I think, about, because every project's unique. So I've done different projects to everyone else on the call, and everyone else on the call's done different projects to me, but that's okay because every project is completely different. And that kind of my mindset of, I'm not a real project manager because I haven't done what you've done, really was a bit of a barrier for me engaging with Chartership at first. So it took me quite a long time to kind of accept, like, no, I have some actually really valid experience here and it's worth giving it a go. So for anyone kind of similar to themselves thinking like, oh my goodness, everyone seems to have done very different projects to me, that's okay. They haven't done your projects as well. So that's what makes our rules great. Every project is different. Every project teaches us something new. And we all bring that different professional and personal experience to every project we work on. And ultimately that what helps us deliver change really, really well and really safely on behalf of our commissioners and our customers as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my kind of road to chartered, so just a little bit of a career history just to try and kind of put into context the types of things that I'd done and then what I took into that chartership process with me. So straight after university, I was on the National Graduate Development Programme and I led workforce development programmes within children and young people services across local authorities. Unfortunately, I was doing that in 2010 when we had the recession, so that was not great timing, and I was made redundant and was offered a different placement as part of another local authority, but maybe a little bit of arrogance. I was like, oh, I'll take redundancy and go and find something else and take on a new challenge and see what else is out there for me. From that, I sort of fell into some European Regional Development Fund project work, which was around employability placement programs for university students and recent graduates, so working within higher education. And this role really kind of gave me the first exposure of like extreme project documentation, like lots of documents. I can see some notes. Anyone who's done an ERDF thing, like we should have a little support group on the go because it's a triggering process for me. Lots of documentation, lots of kind of rigor around it, but actually really helped me see the value and the purpose of that when you're spending kind of commissioning funds, like making sure it's going in the right places and evidencing the results and outcomes that are so critical from our work. So from that ERDF stint, I moved into teacher training placement program work within the third sector, so within working within a charity. Ran a lot of training events, and in this role, I really kind of got hands-on with my first kind of real change project and change program of work and implementing a new target operating model. Which involved bringing in a new qualification, new processes, new systems, new roles in the organisation. And I absolutely loved this. That really kind of floated my boat, working with other project professionals, being able to learn from them, being able to kind of grow myself and take on more of a leading role in that programme team going forwards. So hugely enjoyed that and kind of thought, actually, I really want to be more structured change, but also supporting people who are delivering change. And that was where I wanted to kind of head in my career. I then moved into further education. So in an awarding organisation, I set up and established a unified project management and BA team, established our PMO, and worked to implement project and programme frameworks in the organisation for the first time. And one of the key deliverables within that organisation was around implementing T-levels, which were a pilot qualification at the time, and looking at some internal business transformation to outsource functions and kind of support scalability. So again, a very different kind of service-based delivery role. Off the back of that role, I was approached to join a short-term national programme to implement probation services reform within the Ministry of Justice and the Prison and Probation Service. So worked as part of a kind of large national structured delivery function, kind of got exposure to the Ministry of Justice's professional project framework, kind of got a little bit familiar with the government functional standards. Really enjoyed that. Enjoyed that delivery, enjoyed being part of that programme within the public sector and feeling like I was doing good. And finally, sort of fell into my current role at the NHS Business Services Authority. So like I said, we lead the community of kind of 50+ project professionals and provide support on wobbly projects. So tend to get wheeled in when there's lots of red on the go, which is good fun and keeps me on my toes and out of trouble. But in 2022, I opened the Chartership application form and achieved the standard in the the window in 2023. So now I'm a member of the APM. I engage with my local branch in the Northeast, and I attend the CPD sessions they have to kind of learn from other sectors and build my network and kind of really learn from others' experience in similar roles to myself in other organisations. There's always something we can learn, and always really curious to find out how other organisations do things and see what we can learn. I've been a mentor for the APM Northeast Project Challenge, so working with teams of students, taking part in that, being able to kind of help them bring their learning to life and kind of really get hands-on in a first deliverable for them. And I've been both the mentor and a mentee as part of the APM mentoring community. I think it's really important that I continue to try and invest in myself and develop myself. So at the moment I'm working with a mentor to help me really kind of challenge my thinking about the best way that I can set up and mobilise my current team to deliver better for BSA and, you know, deliver better results for our customers and our commissioners, and using different insights and perspectives to help me to do that. So that's a little bit about what I brought into Chartership. So why was Chartership important for me? I think personally that self-awareness I think was really appealing to me. So it's understanding where I'm at against a professional framework. So obviously the APM competency framework is what this is assessed against. And for me that is much bigger than just health. That's across all of the project profession. And I wanted to kind of measure myself at where do I need to be a real project professional and feel like I can kind of contribute to the profession going forwards. I kind of took it as a bit of a development exercise, really, to think about, well, if I have some gaps, what can I do to work on those? Where can I target my CPD to kind of get myself really ready to do this? And made sure I'd given myself the time to work on that, so I felt really prepared when I went forwards. I wanted to feel like my experience was validated, like externally, especially moving into health. So my current role, I've worked at the BSA for 4 years. That's my first role within the health sector, and at times I feel like, again, it's just my personal experience, not speaking on behalf of anybody, but my kind of experience is that within health we can be a little bit we can feel a bit closed shop at times, and we can feel a bit kind of, if you haven't worked in a trust or you haven't done this, you won't understand it. But actually I'm a project professional, and I've worked in education, I've worked in public, I've worked in private, I've worked in voluntary. I can do this here as well. So I felt like I wanted to have my experience validated to just help me kind of better articulate what I've learned and what value I can bring in a new sector that at times can feel a little bit closed off. Also, it was really important for me that I cemented my commitment to the project profession. I think I'd always felt like I'd hopped from job to job to job previously, but what I realised was actually I've moved from project to project to project, and I wanted to be part of something bigger than my team, bigger than the organisation, and kind of be an active part in that profession going forwards. And that was something that really drove me to want to try and attain the standout. From the organisation side, I know CJ covered these far more eloquently than I will, but kind of thinking about the credibility and confidence was really important for us as an organisation when I went forward for the standout. It's that independent assessment that, you know, the skills and experience of our professionals are at the right level, and you know, it's not us kind of being biased and saying, yeah, we've got great people. We know we've got great people, but this kind of just adds that extra kind of shiny badge and gives that bit of confidence to our commissioners and our delivery partners that we work with throughout the wider sector. My manager was hugely supportive of me going forwards for this standard, which was great. You know, I think at the time he'd been really pushing forwards for how can we professionalise the profession, and he'd been kind of waving the flag of we need to invest and we want to kind of make sure we have the best people delivering our really great projects for us. Our job descriptions within our team are aligned to the Project Delivery Capability Framework, the PDCF, so that's the pan-government framework for the standards of different project roles, and Chartership was coming out as a requirement for more senior roles. So part of the drive organisationally for us was we want to get some lived experience of having gone through that process within our team so we could support others to do that going forwards as well. It's also really important for raising aspirations across our community as well. I think showcasing the organisation commitment to development and supporting people, getting us the right experience, getting access to the right CPD and right exposure on different projects and programmes to get that development standard to be able to hit the kind of the levels required for Chartership. That's hugely positive, and again I think really shows that the commitment from my organisation to develop across our community, and hopefully, you know, that's raised aspirations of individuals when they've joined us and they've kind of seen where a career with us can take them. So my experience and some kind of top tips on what I would recommend if I was to do Chartership again, because I'd probably do it a little bit different, to be honest. But we always love a lessons learned. So the first the first part, the route that I went through was what is now route 1. So that was with no recognised qualification. At the time of actually applying for this, I didn't have a single project management qualification to my name at all. And I'd been doing it for 10 plus years. So if you are in a similar position, do not worry. If you have the experience, you can absolutely still enter through this. You don't need to have a qualification. If you do, obviously it gives you a different route way in because you've got different knowledge, but it is still achievable. So that involved the written submission, and I focused on my current role within the Business Services Authority, and I'm at a portfolio level, and my previous role within the National Service Probation Reform. I used that as a programme of work. So I used 2 examples just to try and make sure I wasn't, both of those hit the complexity factors, and I was fairly confident I had enough detail to get some really robust examples from them. I did explore using some other previous projects, but it was kind of the time limit was sort of pushing away a little bit, and I was sort of scratching my head at times thinking, oh, how did I do this? Who did I work with for that? And I thought I just wanted to keep it really kind of front of mind and make sure that, you know, the experience still feels really close for me so I can really confidently talk it through. Included in this route was a 2-hour interview as well. So that was assessing a bit more about the professional practice, so drilling in a little bit around my written submission, but also looking at assessing my technical knowledge, not holding a formal recognised qualification. You know, they want to check that I understand the basics, I understand what we should be doing, but also different approaches and different ways that I could have done things when I've used a particular process or a particular methodology. What else did I consider that made me kind of realise, no, this is the right one for me, and making sure that I'd really understood that I was doing the right thing, having understood the technical knowledge that underpins the practice. My interviewers, neither of my interviewers were from a health background. So one was from Ministry of Defence and one was from engineering. And that wasn't a barrier at all, because it's about universal language that we all speak through this process as project management, and is around the competencies and the skills that we're using, and project complexity and project controls. So I didn't find that a barrier at all. And indeed, I was talking about health and probation as well, so it would have been difficult to get 2 sector-specific experts on a panel for that without it becoming a little bit too niche. So I wasn't put off by that, and actually I find that a little bit more validating, that, you know, I can hold my own against kind of other individuals who've done far different projects to what I've delivered as well. So moving on to kind of tips and kind of how you could get started with this if you're interested in pursuing it. So starting with CPD, so CJ kind of spoke about, you know, the need for 35 hours of CPD. That's quite a lot every year. So you need 35 hours to bring into the process, and you need to have 35 hours every year to maintain it and retain it. And APM at any point can kind of tap you on the shoulder and say, can I, if you're chartered, and say, can I have a look at your CPD log and see what you've been up to? And, you know, we need to be able to produce that. So this needs some thought to it. The 35 hours isn't going to happen by chance. You can't just join a webinar here and there and kind of hope that 35 hours will rack up, because that's a lot of webinars. But we need to make sure that it's varied. So there's absolutely a place for kind of classroom learning, like webinars, where you're kind of learning about concepts or formal courses, or classroom-based learning is absolutely a place for that, but making sure that your CPD is really varied. So using things like on-the-job learning, like peer conversations and reflections, like mentoring, like any shadowing that you're doing, or anything that you're proactively working on is really important to kind of like evidence through CPD. But you've got to make sure that you're giving back as well. So at this level, you know, there is an expectation that you're not just sitting and kind of consuming all of this. So you're not just sitting and kind of attending webinars and getting all of the knowledge, but you're actually putting yourself out there and, you know, delivering some sessions and sharing your learnings and your knowledge through your community of practice or through other groups that you're a part of. So how are you actively giving back as well? It's really important, I think, that for this level and for this standard, that you're giving back as well through your CPD, rather than just continuing to kind of absorb it being a bit of a one-way street. You know, we want to see both sides of that, I think, is really key. The reflection part of CPD is what we're really interested in, because yeah, we did the learning, but so what? What did you take from it? Did it validate what you already knew, which is a good outcome in itself, or did it provide some insights that have maybe challenged you and you've thought about how you want to do your practice different? So making sure that whatever CPD you're partaking in, that you're stepping back at the end and going, right, what have I learned from this? What am I going to do differently? What can I apply? Or what do I want to try off the back of this? Really important that we take the time to make that so what really clear and evidenced as well. taking the time to get in the habit with CPD and making that kind of part of your regular reflective practice is so important. And ultimately, the more CPD you engage with throughout your process, it's going to help you position your experience better through your submission and any interviews you have as part of a chartership process as well. So you're not just doing this to tick the box, you're doing this to actually help you articulate your skills and experience better as well. So make the most of it. Would absolutely recommend that. Prepare and plan, like we're a profession of planners, aren't we? So absolutely thinking about what's achievable with this, because you might have a lovely plan, but it might be completely unachievable. So it took me about 6 months from opening the application to submitting it. I got through the written submission and the interview at first time of asking, but that might not be the case, because it's hard to know what people are looking for until you've entered into that process. So if there's an absolute hard stop deadline you want to go for, build in a bit of contingency, take the time to really understand the timelines that you've got and that you're working with. That's really key. It needs dedicated time as well. So I know that was what some people highlighted as barriers. Like, absolutely, I would echo that. But it can't be done in 20 minutes here and there. You need to carve out some time to kind of make sure that you're really reflecting, because it's quite deep work what you're doing when you're pulling this together. It's personal reflections, it's where you want to go. There's a lot of thinking time that can make this as painless as possible. So would absolutely recommend that you carve out time. I spent time on evenings and over weekends, just trying to kind of like really spend the time to get under the hood of this. It's unlikely you might get time in work. You might get odd bits of time here and there if you have CPD time at work, but it's unlikely this will be done through your day job. So making sure that this is a status for you as an individual. It might be connected to your role at the moment, but it's absolutely for you. So making sure that you're investing the time, but you've also been realistic with your expectations of yourself. So you don't have to put a time limit on it. Start looking at the CPD, start measuring yourself against the competencies, and then just build your path from there. There'll come a point when you think, actually, I've got a lot of stuff here. And at that point you can enter in. It doesn't always have to have a hard and fast timeline on it. So seeking support as well is really important. So I used the APM mentoring platform through my APM membership to connect with other chartership holders to help me understand their experience before I even opened an application and committed myself. I thought I just kind of want to understand what other people have done and how they found the process before I committed to it. So it really helped me understand where I was at compared to others, but also what the expectations were, and kind of gave me that confidence of, no, I think I could give it a go. So use the people around you, reach out to people who who have the standard and can kind of have that conversation with you. Use your line manager to help you kind of structure your development conversations around the APM competencies, if that's where you want to get to. Getting their feedback on gaps and different sources of CPD that you could use to address those is really valuable. We all know that projects are a team sport, but this is about you. So this needs to be about me, not we. But we know we're always part of a project team, and we're managing. But this is not a place to be humble. You've got to be really specific with what you did. Yeah, we were part of the team, but we're often managing the team. We're driving it. We're the ones kind of really pushing and encouraging it and building that team as well. So make sure that you're kind of owning the actions that you took and really confidently articulating that. It's always very awkward and a little bit cringe, but it's really important that we're super clear with what you did. It's about you, not about we. And finally, I think understanding the complexity of what you've done is really important. So the project profession comes more from kind of construction, engineering backgrounds, but a lot of our projects within health, they might have a construction part, if we're building a new hospital or a new kind of like physical location. But a lot of our projects are service based, where the success is driven by people's engagement, like adoption and usage of our deliverables and the services that we're providing. So whilst our projects have that kind of design, develop, deliver cycle, there's also this kind of people stream where we have to engage impacted individuals. We have to make sure that this is going to meet their needs and it's going to be used at the end. Otherwise, we've built a service that nobody's interested in, and it's not really that successful. We're not going to get the returns we need from it. So that people side is often where the complexity comes from. in our work and being really clear with the complexity and risks associated with working in the health sector, I think it is hugely important as part of this chartered process. Don't assume that assessors will be from a health background, will know jargon and will kind of understand the complexities that we're working with. So again, don't be humble. It's really like what we do, the environment we deliver in is really tough. Like, let's make that really super clear. So thinking about like the risks that we work with and like the complexity of working with kind of in a policy driven environment and like a volatile political sector as well. So much complexity touches everything that we do. So make sure that you're making the effort to make your work accessible. So like removing the health jargon and leaning into that common language of health, of projects, not health. Oh my goodness. Remove the health jargon, lean into projects. Really important to make sure that, you know, your work is understood and can come across as clearly as it can in terms of meeting those complexity factors. Really important. And just last bit for me, just thinking about like what it meant for me. So I think since gaining the chartered standard, you know, it's that ongoing commitment to invest time in myself and my professional development. So making sure, you know, I make time to volunteer as part of the APM regional network, making sure that I don't just register for webinars, that I turn up and I attend and I reflect on it and I think about what can I take from the learnings. Like, it's so important. It's really helped me step out of just doing the job and thinking about where am I heading and making sure that I can make a more active contribution towards that. It's definitely built my confidence. You know, I feel like I can put myself forward because I feel like I've got something to offer just from having my experience validated, and it's brought new concepts into my practice through the CPD I've engaged with as well. But most of all, like, I feel really proud to be part of trying to professionalise the profession, especially within the health sector. We do some hugely important projects and programmes, and we owe it to our end users to make sure that we're the best that we can be to deliver the change to them. And that's something that I'm hugely excited to be part of, and, you know, continue to want to kind of encourage others to do so as well. The more we can do it, the more we can shout and wave the flag about how great our projects are in this sector. You know, we're all doing some really great and really difficult stuff. Let's shout about it. Let's kind of share our knowledge and let's learn from others as well and be part of that bigger community. So I've talked for long enough now. I will stop sharing my screen and kick back to Joe and CJ if there's any questions that we want to go through.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you for sharing your journey and your experience of it as well, and the value of it. I think this is a really important point. A couple of people in the Menti earlier talked about the uncertainty at the moment, and, you know, that doing something like that this time, you go, actually, this is potentially the best time for doing it, because this is something that's going to set you apart from the hundreds, if not thousands, of other people that are going to be potentially applying for projects and change jobs. And at the moment, you know, anybody can call themselves a project manager, but not anybody can call themselves a chartered project professional. So if you want to stand out from the crowd and, you know, support your future career development, this is potentially a good thing to invest in. And if your organisation is going through a lot of organisational change, might be a good time to ask them for that support, because actually they need to support people who may be impacted by the changes that are going on. So don't miss the opportunity to get some funding to support that. There's some guidance on the APM website to help you with your employer funding it. CJ, did you want to add to that at all?
No, literally everything. I think Helen really covered it nicely in terms of the complexity, and even though the chartered standard covers across all different sectors, it is unique experience to yourself. So you just need to, when you're going through that assessment process, just really, again, shout about yourself and what you did within that project. Remove the like the vagueness of jargon and all of that kind of stuff, and just make it as accessible as you can, to really just get the best kind of outcome from it. But yeah, I think you covered it really well, and it was really interesting to hear your story, Helen, so thank you.
And I think that there's a really important point there as well, in terms of coming back to the thing that this is pan-sector. This is, and it's not even pan-sector, it's global. Yeah. The APM Chartered Project Professional is recognised globally. So if you are looking at other jobs, or you're looking at a career that you might think, you know, goes beyond the NHS, then it's a really valuable thing to have, because it is recognised and consistent everywhere. Somebody in the questions, Sarah Javid, asked about a couple of things. She asked about what's the difference in terms of the different pathways and are there pros and cons relating to the different approaches, but also what's the cost and the timeline associated with them. Now, Helen, I know you went through the sort of the full pathway, didn't you, with yours?
Yes, route one.
I went through a different route because I had a pre-recognised qualification. I had project management qualification, so I can talk a little bit about that. I did find the figures on the website for those that were interested in the difference in the cost. Now, the thing about the cost is that if you're going through the pathway one, which is you're being assessed on sort of everything, you've got no pre-existing recognised qualification or experience that's been taken into account, it is more expensive than the other routes. But in order to get to those other pathways, you generally have to invest in other training in order to get there anyway, which is what happened to me. So I did project management qualification, which was 2.5-day residential training course with 5 exams and lots of scenarios and presentations and case studies and stuff, and that cost probably more than and in combination with the chartership approach than just doing the pathway one. So think about the investment. If you've already got a pre-existing qualification, that's great. If you haven't, then it's weighing up the additional cost and time of going through those other routes. So this is the cost for the pathway one. 2 stages. You only pay if you don't pass the application stage, then you don't pay for the interview stage, is my understanding. CJ, nod or if that's right. Let me just move that away. Pathway 2 is reduced because it's reduced the amount of time that you need to contribute to it. But in order to qualify for pathway 2, there is a list of pre-existing recognised assessments that allows that reduction to happen. And these are the only ones that are approved by the APM. It doesn't matter if you've got a qualification from a different organisation or a different university. They currently don't count because they've not been assessed against the competency framework. So that cost is somewhat less. But then the pathway 3, which is the one I took, is the same price, but there's a couple of pre-existing qualifications. So I had the APM project management qualification, but there's also the Project Management Institute certificate. So that's recognition if you've come through the PMI accredited training route. You don't have to be a member of the APM to apply. There are benefits if you do, but you can have come from PMI or other memberships as well. And then pathway 4 is basically an assessment of the fact that you have an accredited assessment previously from one of these organisations. So if you're wanting to assess which is the best pathway for you to plan for, have a look at the different ones, see whether or not that you qualify for them. If you don't, is it worth going down that route, or is it worth going through pathway 1 like Helen did? So it's worth taking that into account. Timing wise, in terms of the timescales, I think one of the things that's important is, and Helen made the point about, you are investing in yourself. This is about not just what it's going to give you in terms of career in the next 1 or 2 years, it's what's it going to give you in 10 or 20 years potentially. So what's the investment that's going to have a return in terms of increased salary, increased opportunities, increased seniority? So if you look at, say, in comparison to the finance profession, in order to become a chief financial officer or head of finance, you have to become a chartered accountant, which means going through the same kinds of steps, going through the processes, going through the learning, and those people fund those things themselves. The organisation supports them with the time and the effort to do that, and usually do it on the job. But think about where that could get you in terms of career progression. If you're investing in that time for you now, that will take you much higher in your career opportunities over the duration of your profession, and whether that's kind of worth it to you. Does anybody have any other questions? We've only got a couple of minutes left. I don't know if you spotted any other questions in the chat, CJ, but I think we answered the other ones that were there. CJ sent through the self-assessment tool. The second one with the link, you can hopefully download that yourself. I opened that one fine. We will send it out as well with the links that we've mentioned. So any links in the chat signposting you to things, those will also come alongside the slides and the link to the recording after the session. So for those that said yes, they're going to apply in the next 12 months, get signed up to some of those support sessions through the APM. The link was in the chat. For those that are planning to do it and maybe beyond 12 months, start to do your planning, start to do your evidence gathering now. It makes it a lot less stressful when you're trying to do it all in one go if you spread it out over time. And for those that said they weren't sure and wanted to know more, hopefully that gives you more of an insight. There is a lot of really valuable information on the APM website. We've sent the links through to that. Do have a look and read more about it. There's a great guide as well. But you can always get in touch with us at HPCA to find out more. And we can always invite CJ back to come and talk to us more about it in the future. Think about this as a long-term investment in you. And where do you want to get to in the future, despite the current uncertainties? Make the most of it. Use it to your advantage. Thank you, Helen. That's fantastic to get your story and your insights. Really valuable. Thank you, CJ, again for your time for the community today. And hopefully we can get people going on the journey with us and really raise the profile of the profession within the healthcare sector. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. See you again soon.